Hello Scramblers, hello climbers, and welcome back to another session of Church at Home. I hope you're all okay. Right, we are going to start our session today, as we always do, with our Scramblers and Climbers prayer. So I hope you're ready. And a reminder that the words will come up on the screen if you're not too sure of them. But I'm pretty sure most of you will know the words by now. So when we're ready, when I touch my head, I think of you, Father God. And when I put my hand over my heart, I say that I love you. When I put my hands together, I ask you to come and make everything right. And when I point to my mouth, I ask you to give us the food that we need. When I bow my head, I say sorry for the wrong things I have done. When I lift my head, I know that you forgive me. When I open my arms, I ask you to help me be friends with everyone. Are you ready for the Amen? Amen. Well done, everyone. Right, I've got a little puzzle for you. You can see here, I've got a glass of water. You can see the water swishing around. If I said to you, what would happen if I tip this glass of water upside down? That's a really simple answer, isn't it? All the water would fall out. But if I said to you, I'm going to tip this glass of water upside down and none of the water is going to fall out, do you believe me? Shall I show you how I do it? I've got my glass. Let's see if I can do it. Okay. And I have all the water in the glass. Isn't that amazing? That's a very clever trick that I've just done there. You can try this at home too. Now we're going to carry on with our story of Joshua. Now we've learned how Joshua has been chosen by God to lead God's people to the promised land. And Joshua needed to be brave and have courage. And how Joshua then sent out spies to Jericho, and that Rahab protected the spies and prevented them from getting caught. The spies returned to Joshua, and now Joshua and God's people need to cross the River Jordan to the promised land. But there's a problem. There's a big, huge, fast-flowing river in the way. How are the people going to get across? There's no bridge to go over, so they might have to wade through it. But the river's too fast, and there's too many people, so they can't do that. How do you think they're going to cross? Well, let's listen and see how amazing God was and how he provided a way. So I'm sure you've all got a Bible at home, and there are lots and lots of stories in there. But these stories are all part of one big story, God's unfolding story. And I've got a little cube here that reminds me of all the main parts of God's story. Don't know whether you can see this here. So it first starts with God created the world. He created everything. But then people started to disobey God. God chose special people. He sent us Jesus, and the church started, and there's a place in heaven for us all. And today, our story of Joshua comes from this part of the Bible about God choosing special people.
How many of you can recognise this picture? Do you know where it is? That's right, it's the road under the railway bridge near the New Malden station. And you can see there that it's covered in water. And when it rains really, really heavily, it's like a little flood. And it's very difficult to get from one side of the bridge to the other, and cars can't pass. And sometimes the water's so deep, we can't even wade through. Have you ever been caught at the bridge like that? I know that I have several times.
God's story, entering the promised land. So part of God's story is about when his family entered the promised land, and it goes like this. Back when God started his family with Abraham and Sarah, he promised they would live in a brand new, wonderful home called Canaan. Then God's family grew and grew, and eventually got stuck as slaves in Egypt. So God sent Moses to lead them out of Egypt and through the wilderness. And now it was time to go home to the promised land. God had even chosen a new leader, Joshua. Now God knew that getting to the promised land looked impossible. For one thing, there was a river in the way, and it was getting bigger and bigger. To make matters worse, people were already living in Canaan, and they didn't want to move. But remember, kids, with God, nothing is impossible. Fortunately, Joshua knew that. So he told all the Israelites, "You will soon know that the living God is among you." God had told Joshua he was about to do something incredible. So Joshua obeyed everything God told him to do. First, God said to send the priest to the Jordan River ahead of everyone else. The priest's job was to help God's family talk to God. Now that Jesus has rescued us, we can all talk to God. But back then, priests had to help. Anyway, the priests were going to carry something called the Ark of the Covenant. It was where God's family kept special things God had given them, like the 10 Commandments, a jar of manna, and the staff Moses' brother carried. It was a reminder that God was with them. They had been chosen by God, and he would take care of them. Well, Joshua told the priest to carry it to the water's edge, then step right into the Jordan River, even though it was flooded. God said that once they stepped into the Jordan River, he would stack the water up on both sides. And he reminded them that he could do that, because after all, he is in control of the whole earth. It probably felt really scary to step into a flooded river, but they trusted God, so they obeyed. And guess what? Once their feet were wet, the water stacked up on both sides, just like God promised. A dry path formed, and the whole nation of Israel crossed the Jordan River. Best of all, everyone saw how powerful God was. In fact, other nations would hear about what happened and see how powerful God was too. Instead of attacking the Israelites for crossing into their land, they would hide in their cities. But for now, the people were thankful to be in the promised land and believed that God could help them not only cross the river, but eventually move into their home. God didn't want his family to forget that either. So he told Joshua to send 12 men to get one stone each and pile them up. Every time they returned to the Jordan River, they would see the pile. Many years later, God's family would ask, "What do those stones mean?" And someone would tell them about how God is powerful and how he always takes care of his family. And that's the story of when God's family entered the promised land. So in case you missed it, here's the quick version. God promised a home. He chose Joshua to lead. A river was in the way. People already lived there. Joshua trusted God. The priest stepped into the river. The river stopped. God's family went home. They thanked God. God is powerful. He can take care of his family. And that's a part of God's story.
Hello climbers, hello scramblers. Isn't God amazing? It's great to see the way he works all through the Bible, looking after his people and doing amazing things. Today's craft shows how even the rivers do what God says, and how God made a path for the people to cross the River Jordan into the land he had promised them so many years before. Today's craft, you're going to need some paper, either brown or white. You're going to need a blue sheet of paper, and you're going to need the cutout which we sent to your mum or dad earlier in the week. You're also going to need some colouring pencils, a glue stick, and of course some scissors. We're going to start off with the blue piece of paper. Now, I want you to fold it in half on the long way, like that, and then cut along that line. It doesn't matter if it's not absolutely straight, because that's going to be the edge of your waves. When you've done that, you're going to take a piece and fold up about 2 centimetres. Make a fold all the way along like that, and the same on the other sheet. Then with your scissors, you're going to cut some nice fat strips. So only cut up to your folded line. So you're cutting the long bit, not the short bit, and you're cutting wide strips which finish on the fold. Doesn't matter how many you cut, but you want them nice and wide, because otherwise they'll be a little bit fiddly. And there's the last one. So you do that to one side, then you do it to the other side. So you've got 2 strips exactly the same. When you've done that, fold down the back again. It makes it a little bit easier. And you're going to roll up these little strips. So if you roll, you can either roll them like this, one at a time with your fingers, or if you can manage it, you can get one of your pencils and you can fold 2 at a time, or even more if you're very clever, like that. You can fold them around the pencil. Either way, just keep folding until you've done all of your strips. Nearly there. I'm going to do the last 3 all together. I'm going to try to anyway. I think I've got 2 of them on there. There's 2 of them. Oh, they weren't very good, were they? And then 1 more to go. That's it. So you do that to one side, and then you do it to the other side as well. Then you're going to need your piece of paper, which is either brown or white, and I'm using the brown one. Get your glue stick, you do a strip of glue all the way along one long edge. I'm going to get your first one and put the straight edge on the straight edge and stick it down. And turn it round and do the same on the other side. So now you've got the 2 walls of water. Where God piled up the water on either side so that the people walk along the riverbed. But you need to make the people. To make the people to walk across, remember they took everything with them. So they had all their bundles of babies, their bundles of toys, their bundles of food, and even they took their donkeys and their sheep and anything else that they had, because they took every single thing with them. So the first thing you're going to do is colour in all the people. And it's probably best to do this before you cut it out, because it's a bit less fiddly that way. So I'm going to start off with the donkey, and I'm just going to colour him in grey, because I think donkeys look rather nice when they're coloured in grey. So I'm going to start colouring in my donkey. Better colour in his other ear as well. But it's a bit boring for you, so watch me do colouring in, because I expect what you'd really like to be doing is colouring your own donkey in. So if you have a look, you can see that I've already coloured them in, and there they are once they're coloured in. The next thing you're going to do once they're coloured in is cut them out. So I would say the best way to cut them out is to start off just doing the long, straight lines like that. You can hear a funny noise in the background. It's my next door neighbours. They're drilling holes in the wall, and it's making rather a lot of noise. So you're going to cut it like that first. Then you're going to cut the ends off. Leave this little tab because you're going to need that. So cut the ends off like that. And when you've cut all your ends off, you're going to end up with a whole pile ready cut out. And then you're going to fold them in half. So if you take this one We're going to fold it in half like that. And then, see there's a line there, we're going to fold that back because that is going, whoops, that was a bit crooked, wasn't it? When you fold that over, that gives them something to stand on. Otherwise they'll just fall over when they're trying to cross the river, and that would not be very good at all. So when you folded them like that, they will all be able to stand up and then cross the river. Right, so when you've got them all, you'll have donkey, you'll have the father, you've got a mummy, and then you've got a little child. And if you look, you can see the little child I've cut out a bit more, because if you look very carefully, you can see that there's a dotted line that goes all the way round. And if you want to, and you're quite good at cutting, you can cut along that dotted line and cut out your person a little bit, but don't cut it right to the top, because that's the bit that will keep it together with the back. If you cut that off, it will never stand up. But you don't actually have to cut it out, because I think they look quite good not cut out. But if you cut them out, then they'll look like that. So now if we bring our river forward again, there's our River Jordan. And then you can make the people cross. So there's the daddy coming across first. And then we've got mummy carrying the baby going across. And then I think we'll probably have the donkey next. So there's the donkey coming across. And lastly, we've got the little child coming across the river. And everybody got safely over the river. If you want to, when you finish playing and getting the people to cross, you could actually put some glue on the bottom of the tabs, like that. And you can stick your people on the base. And then you can just put it up in your bedroom or in the front room or somewhere. Then everybody can see what you've done. And you know what would be really great? Would be if you could send a picture of the craft that you've made. You send it to Anna in the office. Your mum and dad will have the address, because that's where they get the pictures from that they give to you each week to make the craft. So if you send her a picture of your craft when it's finished, then it'd be really good if we can all have a look at it. So there we are. You've got daddy, you've got the donkey, you've got the little child, and you've got mummy, all crossing the River Jordan. Today's song is Our God is so great, so strong and so mighty. And for this version, you may need a hat.
My God is so big, so strong and so mighty. There's nothing that my God can't do. My God is so big, so strong and so mighty. There's nothing that my God can't do. He made mountains so tall, rivers so wide, and even the stars far away. My God is so big, so strong and so mighty. There's nothing that my God can't do. My God is so big, so strong and so mighty. There's nothing that my God can't do. My God is so big, so strong and so mighty. There's nothing that my God can't do. He made mountains so tall, rivers so wide, and even the stars far away. My God is so big, so strong and so mighty. There's nothing that my God can't do. For you, how big? So big. How strong? So strong. How mighty? Almighty. My God is so big, so strong and so mighty. There's nothing my God can't do. My God is so big, so strong and so mighty, there's nothing my God can't do. He made mountains so tall, rivers so wide, and even the stars far away. Hey, my God is so big, so strong and so mighty, there's nothing that my God can't do. He made mountains so tall, rivers so wide, and even the stars far away. My God is so big, so strong and so mighty, there's nothing my God can do for you.
Whew, did you enjoy that? I certainly did. I'm going to take my hat off now, put my other glasses on, and I'm going to say a prayer. So I hope you're going to join in with me. Father God, thank you that you are amazing. Thank you that you are powerful. Thank you that even nature has to do what you say. And thank you that you care about us, that you love us, and that you look after us all the time. Amen. Now, next week, we're going to find out what happened when Joshua and the people arrived in Jericho, the city the spies found out about last week. And if you tune in and watch Scramblers and Climbers at home, you'll be able to find out too. So bye.
Christchurch, New Malden. Oh yeah.